Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mountainside Podcast. Our guests for this episode are Bob Adware, Chuck and Susan Williamson, and their dog Token. Now, they are all from the River Deep Alliance Foundation, which is an amazing organization that helps disabled and veterans all at the same time get outside and enjoy hunting life, fishing, camping, horseback riding. They also do art, photography classes. What an amazing organization, and best part about this is they bring the support of the entire family for whoever they're trying to help. So whether it's a veteran, an active duty military person, or somebody disabled, they include their family in whatever activities that they're doing. What a great organization. I'm so glad I stumbled across these amazing people and had an opportunity to sit down and talk to them. I can't wait for you to listen to this episode, and I urge you to share this with anybody that might need it. All right. Hey, welcome, gentlemen, ladies. Thank you for making the trip up and coming in and telling us about what you guys got going on and your amazing foundation and what you do. Before we get started, if we could just kind of bounce around the room and we'll kind of talk about your guys' backgrounds and what brought you into the Rocky Mountains or into Colorado specifically, and we'll just kind of go from there.
Sure. Do you want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
And thanks for having us.
Yeah.
So my name is Bob Adware, and I actually used to live in Evergreen.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like in 1902.
There was must have been here when my family homesteaded.
Yes. There was myself. Well, you probably know the Dedis family.
Oh, yeah, very well.
Okay.
Yep.
So there was, me, there was 2 elk, a mountain lion, and a bear. All used to live together. And, so I lived here when I went to school in the 70s.
Oh, really?
In Boulder, yeah, in CU. But I lived here for quite a while up by the old Brook Forest Inn, and I lived in Bailey, so I've lived in this area for a while. So I've always loved living here. I fish and hunt. And,
so you're a Colorado
horses.
native then?
No, I'm actually I was born in the East, but always, since I was a little kid, I always wanted to.
Might as well be then, right?
Right,
You've been here since you were a little kid.
Right.
We count that.
Yeah.
I count
it
that.
It seems like it, yeah. And at this point, I've been here a good portion of my life.
The guys with the native bumper stickers might not count that, but
right, exactly.
If you got to put one of those bumper stickers on your car, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah, I'm not exactly. I can't figure out.
I'm not knocking that either. I love Coloradans, but
no, I'm not sure why people put 8,000 stickers on their car that says they've been to every national park or every McDonald's in Tennessee.
Yeah,
but so anyway, I've always enjoyed. Living in the mountains. I mentioned I lived in Bailey for a while, had some horses there. Spent a lot of years again in Evergreen, and now I live in Boulder, and probably will be moving back to Evergreen Golden area hopefully in the next soon.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a great spot. I love living up here in the mountains. I don't know if I could handle the city life.
Yeah,
I guess I did for a while. I lived in Hermosa Beach, California. It was the only other place I've really lived, and that was great. I love living at the ocean, but it all kind of came full circle once I started having kids. I was like, okay, where do I want them to grow up? And I was like, I want them to play in the same dirt I did. And now they're going to the same elementary school I did. And hopefully we'll be here through their high school and all that sort of stuff too.
You know what? Yeah, no matter where you live, there's trade-offs.
Yeah.
I mean, either you want your kids to be exposed to all different races and, people from all over the country and see different cultures and learn. And then you miss out on the rural lifestyle. If you're in the rural lifestyle, I had where we pheasant hunted once, or many times up by Lamar, and Eads and Wiley. Most people haven't heard little towns.
Yeah,
so anyway,
I know where they're at.
I'll tell you this. I'll make it as quick as possible.
No, we got time, so go ahead.
So they basically, 2 of these 2 guys who work for me said, I'm going to a wedding in Eads or Wiley, which I was like, where's that? And they showed me on the map, and it's all farm country. I said, do they have pheasants? Wild pheasants. He goes, yeah, I think so, because they're not. So I said, look, make it whatever deal you have to. I don't care. I'll back it. Meaning if I got to put their kids through college or buy you a car or build you a house, but I want a deal, a lifetime of pheasant hunting. So he did. He came back and he said, we have to put granite countertops in their kitchen. And it's a father on one section and then another son and another son. They all work the farm. And so I said, great, done. So myself and my business partner drive up there for the first time to meet the sons, meaning they're in their 30s at this point. This is 15, 20 years ago. So he's driving us along. We're in the truck, and he goes, all right, this cornfield, here's this mile of field. You can have this, and they don't get any pressure, and you get, there's birds. And I said, great. And then we got out and we walked around, and I asked him, I said, his name was Johnny. And I said, Johnny, is there do these fields ever get any pressure? For people who don't know what that means, meaning are there a lot of hunters there? It's like fishing. Is there pressure or whatever? He goes, no. He said, we used to get a couple of guys from Evergreen that they came up and they would hunt a few times and they gave us a 6-pack of beer. So I just gave the guy $3,000 of granite.
But you still got the deal,
we
right?
got the deal.
Yeah.
And I looked at my business partner and we laughed because we didn't care because it was like they were good people.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So are you still hunting there? Or?
Yes. I haven't been there in years.
So it's paid off.
It's paid off. But now I'm going to come back to why the trade-off on rural and urban. So one of the brothers' sons, got a full ride to Stanford, which they don't even know if you said Stanford and they're like, is that a new hot dog stand?
Right.
Or, a new piece of farming equipment?
I don't even know how to spell Stanford.
Right.
Yeah.
A full ride, which is
wow.
amazing.
That's awesome.
And the father went out with his family to bring the kid out. That's Palo Alto and it's beyond billionaires. It's off the charts. He came back and it was like he came back from the moon. He couldn't believe people live like that. I mean, he's living in the middle of nowhere and it's one tough life.
Yeah.
These guys, people don't think about it, but tractors beat you up. You have neck problems, you have back problems. And
my whole family was in excavation.
Oh.
A lot of them still are, and most of them are walking around with one hand behind their back, just from that.
Right. Year after year, day in,
they
day out.
They kick the shit out of you, man.
Yeah. And then in the winter, you're out there and it's 20 below and you're out in the plains and the wind's blowing.
Although I will say they have gotten better. Like if you've stepped into any of those new Caterpillar machines or anything like that, they have air conditioning and computers and GPS blade depth finders and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Well, they're all, as you know, you're right. Now you can plug in your coordinates and you can fall asleep.
Really?
Yeah.
Autopilot bulldozing.
They do. Well, at least with the farm tractors, they have them. And you can get one with a hot tub and a bar.
Not to change the subject, but what was that story about the guy, I think it was in Granby.
Yes.
That they took his...
He converted it to a tank.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was I think it was a D10, which is a big cat.
Yeah.
And he put all the armor on it, and it was right out of...
he bulldozed the bank, didn't he?
Yeah. He bulldozed the bank, and then...
So the story is, and Jeremy, you might have to fact check this, but the bank took his house. He was pissed off, so he welded all these steel plates to this bulldozer, which normally moves a ton of earth, and just started bulldozing part of the town, and I think he definitely got the bank. I know that.
We had a guy, and
it's right here, and I think they just did a documentary on it too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So we had a guy, speaking of, and Chuck was a tanker.
We got to get Chuck's background too. So you were a tanker, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I spent 16 and a half years in the Army. And then, I started off half my career was on a tank. The other half, I retired as a recruiter out here in Denver area, and I just never left. So Colorado was my first duty assignment. Went from Colorado Springs to Iraq to Texas, to Fort Bliss, Texas, back to Colorado to Germany, Kansas to Denver, and then Wyoming, and then back to Denver. And I just never left.
Wow.
I love it here.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Colorado.
It's a great spot. It's I'm having trouble digesting a little bit of the influx here, I guess.
Yeah, me too.
Just because I grew up here and things aren't the same as what they once were, right?
Yeah.
And I don't knock people moving here or anything like that. I mean, like I said, my family was in excavation, and that's how they made their living, was building houses and roads and and doing all that sort of stuff. And a lot of them are still in that industry, you know. So I don't knock people moving here. But the whole reason I started the podcast was to kind of raise some awareness about what we're doing on public lands and how it's being treated. And I'm really concerned about my kids being able to use it, and their kids and their grandkids. You know what I mean? So
yeah, when you go fishing somewhere and you find a bunch of trash everywhere, and it's like, this is pristine, beautiful country. Why are you doing this?
And it's common all the time. And I think a lot of that too. I don't think it's people deliberately throwing it on the ground, but if it's in your yard, just like today, it's a windy day, it gets picked up, that ends up in a ditch. The ditch runs into the stream, and here we go, right?
Well, look at the oceans, the plastic they're taking out. Yeah. And I don't know whether you remember, I can't remember the slogan, but it really got bad in the 60s and 70s. If you went to a lake in the United States, fishermen were terrible. Not fly fishermen, but I say that because obviously, but fishermen would leave trash all over the beach. And then there was a campaign, and I think it was an Indian. Do you remember that? What was it, Susan? Was it pickup?
I remember him being on the painted horse, and he was saying something like, "This is our land too." I can't remember exactly. But
that was a different. I do remember this is about respecting the land, but there was something with trash.
So what
cans.
did Susan just say? Just so our listeners can.
Susan was talking about there was a couple of campaigns back then, and there was one with a Native American on a.
Oh wow, Jeremy's got it already. Oh, I remember this, actually, I think.
And this is the other one. Jeremy, do you remember the one with a trash can? And everybody pitch in.
I thought this was it.
No, this is different. This was another one when we were destroying.
No, watch.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I remember throwing it out.
It's not
guys.
But
this
it's
is the
kind of
best
funny.
part.
Yes, and he's crying.
Yeah,
I do remember this, and it was.
I don't want to say the best part. That was the
right.
The climax of the.
But people did. You know, the one they showed of the people just throwing trash out of their car. That used to happen.
Sure.
Like people just didn't think. Where was it going?
Hey guys, that's not me scratching my leg. We got our second dog on the podcast. Dog's name? I'm sorry again.
Token, token of appreciation.
Yeah,
he's from a service dog group that is part of our alliance.
Oh, perfect.
Called Victory Service Dogs. So they do some pretty good work.
Awesome. We'll all get a photo together at the end so viewers can see.
Cool.
We got a lot of dog fans on here, so.
Yeah, but he was donated as a token of appreciation for my military service, and I was having a hard time coming up with a name. I know 3 guys with a dog named Sarge.
Right.
Vets tend to name their dogs after something they did in the service. Tank, Sarge, whatever it is. So, and I was having such a hard time coming up with a name, and Token just stuck.
That's a great name.
Oh, yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, too.
But, yeah, we do see a lot of trash, and I've found myself, I have a little fishing pack now that I carry around, and one of the things that I carry in there is just a plastic trash bag to pick crap up, and normally I come out with it fairly full,
right. Well, we went through this, as you know, with backpackers. You leave it as you found it.
Yeah.
You don't leave it worse. You don't leave, you don't trample. And hence now we have roadless wilderness areas. We're actually part of an initiative that's in the Senate now. Who knows how long it'll take for they're going to basically be testing the benefits of the outdoors with veterans. So they're thinking about, and I don't really have any of the details, but as far as national forests, wilderness areas, letting us use more of those for outdoor programs, which we're not sure. Again, I don't have the details
sure,
because
that's a great idea.
Right, but the fact that you've got people like REI and North Face and every big company is on this list, including Liberty Foundation. So at least it's in motion. We all know nothing happens quickly in Washington, but at least it's got some wheels.
Well, let's talk about your foundation. That's why we brought you in, and I know we kind of steered off, and we're just getting to know each other in here, and it's awesome. It's all good stuff. But I definitely want to talk about your guys' foundation and what you do. And I found you guys through we did episode, I believe it was 13 with Tom Klum. and I've known Tom for a long time, and he's a great guy. I think he's a great guy for the community, and especially the hunting community.
Yeah.
The way that he advocates, and some of the people that he's taught that have really pushed the sport to a whole nother level too. You know, like guys like Aaron Schneider and stuff like that are great guys. You know, so I have nothing but good things to say about Tom. But when we were sitting down in his episode, we came across and we spent about 15 minutes talking about your guys' program. And even though we didn't come up with the name during that, Tom put me in touch with you guys so I could put a link to the website. And then you and I, Bob, just hit it off right away. And we started talking about all the things that you guys did. And I thought it would be a great idea to have you guys on and talk about that so we can raise some awareness about what you guys do and also get people help that may need it.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you guys having us.
Yeah, we're super happy to have you. So one of you guys want to tell us about the foundation? It's River Deep is the foundation, and you guys do a lot of outdoor stuff for either veterans or handicapped people, correct?
Yes, we started 20 years ago, and we started working with Craig Hospital, which is one of the top 20 hospitals in the United States for spinal cord injury and TBI, traumatic brain injury. So most of the patients we work with from Craig are para or quadriplegics and may have TBI, and we also work with their alumni, meaning they're not at Craig
They've
anymore.
left the hospital.
Because Craig is world renowned. People come in from all over the world. Usually with a spinal cord injury, and depending on where you're at, you'll go to a hospital wherever wherever you are in the world, and then after you're stabilized, you will be sent to someplace like Craig Hospital. There's Shepherd Hospital, which is kind of the equivalent in Atlanta. So 20 years ago, I was on the board of Safari Club International, the Denver chapter.
Mm-hmm. Another great organization.
Right, does a lot, yes. And somebody, I really at that time didn't know that much about SCI. SCI in the medical world means spinal cord injury. If you're outdoor, so I have to be careful when I'm at Craig Hospital. I never say SCI. I say Safari Club International and vice versa. So anyway, I'm in a board meeting and somebody says, well, we should be really doing something to help the community, more of a humanitarian outreach. And I said, okay, I'll do it. And somehow Craig came up. I can't remember. And I said, okay, I'll give him a call. So the next morning, I called Craig. And as I was dialing, I realized I don't know who I'm going to talk to. I don't even know what department I'm going to talk to. But I'm just somebody. I
don't mean to interrupt you, but what spurred all that? What made you decide, like, hey, I want to jump in or what got you started with Safari Club International in the first place?
Somebody on the board, I think he was the vice president at the time, just thought I would be a good. He knew I think I'm somebody. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it, which is a problem with voluntary boards. Right. Voluntary boards, you go and everybody raised their hand and said, "Done. I'll take care of this." And you go to the next board meeting, and they're like, "I never said that."
Really?
Well, it's very difficult. Most boards are 7 to 12 people in that range, and almost every board I've been on, and I'm on a lot of boards now, there's 3 or 4 people that do everything, and the others kind of look pretty.
Right.
So anyway,
I definitely won't be looking pretty.
So then, well, that means you're then you got to work. Yeah. It's one or the other. You either look pretty or you work.
Right.
So I really didn't know that much about Safari Club at the time. And
well, I think it's also because you're an easy guy to get along with and talk to. I mean, the first time I talked to you on the phone, we were probably on the phone for 45 minutes. We could have just recorded that. I mean, yeah.
And I think that helps in doing what we do. I'll get into that in a second.
Sure,
I just want to finish your question.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm
sorry.
You're as
I'm
bad as I am
you,
because I jump around all over, and I constantly have to tell people, look, stay with me because I'm going to jump around. Right. So, all right, I'm going to finally get to the finish of why I got on. The question was why I got on the board. I have no idea because somebody asked me, and I said, sure. And when I got on the board, I knew nothing about Safari Club at the time, but I liked the idea. I've always liked the idea of helping and giving back. So I said, okay, I'm going to call Craig Hospital. So I called Craig Hospital next morning. Again, I couldn't figure out who to talk to, and I thought, is there a department that does outdoor kind of things? And they're like, oh, yeah, T-REC. That stands for Therapeutic Rec. I said, okay, can you put me through? The head, Sam, who's a legend in the recreation, he's retired now, but he broke all kinds of ground for SCI patients, spinal cord, and TBI in the United States. Air Force vet. Anyway, I said, hi, I'm Bob Adwar. I'm with SCI. I said, you want to go pheasant hunting? He goes, yeah, okay. I said, okay, good. He was had as much of a plan. He goes like, he didn't know who I am.
Right.
And I said, okay, I'll get back to you, and hung up because I had no plan. But I knew when I give somebody my word, I'm going to follow through with it, whatever it takes. So then I went out to Russell McLennan, who was also on the board with me of SCI, who I think I mentioned to you. He owns Valhalla Hunt Club in Bennett. He was born and raised there, and he owns another hunt club called the Bluffs. And he's hunted all over the world, and he's also a big game guide. So I said, Russell, we got to take patients pheasant hunting. He's like, okay, what do we got to do? I go, I don't have a clue. So we actually used 2 golf carts that Craig Hospital had because, again, these were paras, and we didn't have track chairs back then. We didn't have adaptive equipment.
Yeah, and just so the listeners know what we're talking about, a track chair is basically a wheelchair that has all-terrain tracks on it, almost like a tank or a tractor, right?
Like a snowmobile with rubber tracks.
There you go.
And it's electric, and it has marine batteries, and it's got 5 speeds, and it goes in reverse, and it's got a 4-point harness, and you can have a scabbard for a rifle or a tackle box. It's got lights. It'll run. It's dead quiet. It's silent because it's electric, and it'll go anywhere from 5 to 8 hours.
Really?
And they're lifesavers.
I saw an amazing photo that we got in one of your pamphlets of somebody actually in a river, like you would be wading, but this gentleman was in a wheelchair fly fishing. Yeah. It was
and
really
that's
awesome.
And that's at Lincoln Hills, which I told you about, which is up in Rollinsville, which we go every month from May till October and fish. And then we have vets, soldiers from Fort Carson, the Warrior Transition Battalion, and Craig Hospital patients. So we're able to transfer people into the track chair. And, a lot of the times it's like that track chair is cool.
It's really cool. Hey, Jeremy, I think if you go to the show photos folder, I think it's in there. Yep. Should be in one of those photos. Sorry, go ahead.
So, regardless if you're ambulatory or not, everybody wants to sit in this thing. I
want to ride in one.
Right. I had Governor Hickenlooper in it when he was governor. We were at Lincoln Hills, and awesome. And we were talking about it, and I said,
there it is in the river. That's the photo I was talking about, I think. Yeah.
It's fantastic. So anyway, the Hickenlooper got in it and drove it around, and he had a smile like a 5-year-old.
Right.
Because these things are fun, but they're lifesavers for people that are not ambulatory, because these things will go in the snow, they'll go in mud. So we actually use these to pheasant hunt, and we use these to big game hunt. But again, and now back to at Lincoln Hills, the picture we're seeing. So a lot of the people will fish and go, can I just go in the track chair? I don't have to fish. I just want to ride it. I'm like, yeah, go crazy.
Cool. Because they're not used to being able to get off-road probably, right?
Yes, you're absolutely right. If you're a patient at Craig, we keep 2 track chairs and from us that stay there year-round, and they have 2 other track chairs, and it's basically we're lending you these track chairs, go crazy. Anybody who wants to get in them, beat them up. If you break them, you break them, but that's what they're for. So that the patients, when they leave Craig Hospital, they know these are available to them. and this is an avenue. I don't know whether you remember about approximately 10 years ago, Bill O'Reilly, when he was still on The Factor,
Yep.
before he got in trouble. He was really the one that brought this to attention to the United States. Before that,
Really?
nobody knew what a track chair was. Somehow he found out, and he raised, I think, $20 million in, a few seconds. And he said, I am going to get every veteran a track chair needs one for free.
Really?
None of this existed. The track chair was
Did
there.
he come through on his
Yes,
word?
he did.
Really?
He did. And
Wow, that's
today there's
outstanding.
2 funds. There's a Semper Fi fund and another fund, so that vets can get these chairs for free.
Wow.
Because the chairs are $12,000 to $14,000.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
But now, to put it in perspective for you, a power chair is
Totally worth it, though.
yes.
Yeah.
And a power chair is the price of a car. So
I
a
know.
power wheelchair could be $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. So if you put it in perspective with that, these are reasonable and they last a long time. But more important, this is a tool to get you outside and get you in a wilderness, a beautiful, safe, in the woods, a lake, river. Whether you fish hunt or not, even if you just want to go on a fire road.
Well, and I kind of think whether you're a hunter or a fisher or whatever, that's just kind of why we do it, right?
Right.
It's not so much for the sport of killing something
Right.
or catching a monster fish sometimes. Sometimes it's just taking in where you're at, right?
Right.
Like standing in a river or sitting in a river in this example, you know what I mean? And what a great way to, I think it releases a bunch of endorphins in me, at least, that just make me happy, right? Like if I'm stuck at a desk or inside all the time and I don't get outside, I go out and hike every morning,
Right.
you know, and I do it for this very reason, is it sets my tone for the day, you know?
Well, you have to get out in the sun.
Yeah.
It creates vitamin D, and you may be familiar with the disease SAD. Susan, it's
I've had it a couple times before.
When people have gone, let's say you grew up in Peru or Chile or Ecuador, and then you move to Alaska and you don't see the sun for a few months, you get depression.
Oh, yeah.
And it's proven, obviously, not just the sun, but exercise helps with serotonin and helps keep you, balanced. And that's one of the issues we deal with especially with the veteran communities with PTSD and TBI, is isolation and being shut in.
Right.
So you have to get them outdoors. It doesn't matter, I always... it doesn't matter if we take you on a fishing trip and you catch a fish. It doesn't matter if you're on a pheasant hunt, an elk hunt, whatever. It doesn't matter. What matters is we get you outside, you re-engage, and you reacclimate. And you're with other people. And hopefully from that, when we go to RMS Gear for archery, a lot of the people, whether they're we combine our outings. So that
Tom told me, by the way, that I could come down and sweep the floor while you guys, or run the archery shop while he's helping these people. So
that's as high as
I'm not good enough to coach.
but at least you can sweep.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, well, look, you got to start somewhere. You got to pay your dues.
Right.
So
Sorry.
that's all right. So we combine, and again, here you're going to have to bear with the jumping around.
We're all good, man.
So we used to do what I think most nonprofits do, and this isn't a good or bad, but meaning veterans are veterans outings, individual with individual disabilities are separate outings. And years ago, I went to Craig Hospital, Operation TBI, which is, again, traumatic brain injury, which is Craig Hospital's military program, and it works with every branch of the military. And I went to Fort Carson. I said, guys, what do you think about combining? Because one, we can do so much more. Because one, we're limited, by money, we're limited by time, and we're limited by the amount of outings that an outfitter or guide or whatever will allow us. So I said, why don't we combine them? And everybody, there was silence, and everybody went, okay. Because the thing is this, and we've learned a lot over 20 years, and one of the things we've learned is if you have a veteran, a combat veteran, who's been on one deployment or multiple deployments, and that he or she is never going back in the military again. They've med boarded out, which is usually the one vets we deal with. So you're here. So how about let's make it work? You're here. You're no longer. You're not going to be in Afghanistan, Iraq, or Somalia, or wherever. So to help re-engage and reacclimate, there's the camaraderie with other vets and the understanding, and I appreciate that. But you will not be in that environment 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're going to be with most people that you meet probably were not veterans.
Mm-hmm.
So by combining it with, with Craig Hospital and individuals with disabilities, there's a mix. And honestly, most of the vets on our outings are ambulatory. It's more what we call the invisible illness or what have you. I hate to use these words, but it's invisible because PTSD and TBI you don't see.
Right.
We have a good friend of ours who was a captain who was blown up with an IED, who's had over 30, at this point I think it's now over 40 surgeries. This is a young guy. And he's a big guy. Looks like Grizzly Adams, if you remember that guy. But anyway,
Yeah.
he played football for VMI, Virginia Military Institute, which is the Southern's version of West Point. And people would come up to him and say, what's wrong with you? You look fine. And it hurts. It hurts for me to hear that because I know this he's just the salt of the earth. He's trying to help every veteran he can, but he's in pain 24 hours a day. If he's not have back pain, he's got depression and anxiety. He used to wake up every morning and put a 9mm gun in his mouth.
Wow.
He used to be on somewhere between 20 to 40 pills, which makes your brain mush. When we take more of a alternative and a holistic approach, which we talked a little bit about, getting outside.
Yeah.
And also better diet and minerals and vitamins and nutrients and things like meditation and yoga, which you have available to you 24 hours a day for free.
Right.
So these are some of the things, and believe it or not, I've had these discussions with Fort Carson, with the staff, and the first time I brought it up, I didn't know whether they'd look at me like you're some kind of crazy person. We're the Army, and they applauded.
Really?
Now, they can't do this, but they understand anger management, and they understand meditation. It's breathing.
Yeah.
It's just breathing. So if they can help their active duty soldiers, and we're working with both, it's a win-win. But the point being is, I understand an SSRI, an antidepressant, anti-anxiety. If somebody's suicidal and you've got to knock down, take that edge off, and then it's like, okay, Bobby, now we can talk because you're in a little bit better place, and then we're gonna work with you. We're gonna help you. But to ignore the problem, and when I say ignore it by, you know what, Bobby, just keep taking these pills, and we're gonna have to adjust the dosage, and we're gonna change, as they call it, the cocktail. But don't worry about it.
It's just masking a problem, really.
It's putting a Band-Aid on cancer.
Yes.
And it's a problem in North America. It's a problem in our culture. We all want to feel good. And years ago, I read something that it really hit me. It's like, we're brought up, or a lot of people are brought up in our culture, if you don't feel good 24 hours a day and laughing and smiling, there's something wrong. That's not true. There is pain in everyone's life. Everyone. There's a saying, pain is inevitable, suffering isn't. Suffering is letting go. Where pain, we all have to deal with it. So suppressing it or putting it in denial and masking it with the drugs and not getting really to the core of the problem, how would you expect to get better?
Yeah. It's just, I think that's something, like you said, it's just in our culture, whether you're a veteran or not.
Right.
If you have any sort of mental disability, it's here, take this pill, or I call it getting pill Billy, because it's just a concoction of stuff to try to make you feel better. And
it's terrible. And a lot of people, and I get it, we all need, this isn't a handout. This is a helping hand. Everybody, whether you're a combat vet with PTSD or TBI, everybody at one point in their life needs help.
Yep.
Everybody needs somebody to talk to bounce something off of. They've lost their direction, their focus, they're hurting, they've lost a loved one, whatever. It happens to everybody. Even if you live in a cave in the Canary Islands and have a groin cloth and spear fish, it's still going to happen to you. So just lending that, just a helping hand and just listening sometimes is a starting point. You have to start somewhere. A quick story. 15, 20 years ago, we're fishing by Crystal Lake, and the same thing, veterans and Craig Hospital patients. The Craig Hospital bus comes. They're in wheelchairs, and there's the ramp. They come down. A young guy was in the Coast Guard, was born in Texas, just angry at the world. I get it. He's a paraplegic. He probably will not walk again. And I went over, hi, you want to fish? Come on over the lake. I'm just trying to be friendly. And he didn't want to have anything to do with me. And one of the guides is an actual psychologist. His name is Ryan. Great guy. I've known him forever. And he just volunteers, and he couldn't get through to him. And I just kept trying, but not pushing. You don't ask about the injuries. You don't really ask about anything. You're just trying to find a common denominator. Finally, somehow, and I can't remember how we got to it, I actually lived in the Bay Area, and I was a skipper. I skipped a sloop, a 36-foot sloop for years. And that did it. Maybe because he was Coast Guard, and it broke through. And then all of a sudden, the cigarette got thrown on the ground. He actually somewhat smiled, and I got him to engage. So it's whatever it takes. You just have to. I get the fact that whether it's PTSD, TBI, or spinal cord injury, you're in pain.
Yeah, and just to be clear, you don't have to have an injury to have some of those.
No, you don't.
Like a really good friend of mine and my son's wrestling coach, Luke Barrier, we've had him on the podcast, he's an ex-Special Forces guy, just salt of the earth, real badass. I mean, this guy looks like freaking Popeye. He's a real stud. I would not want to mess with him. Great guy, though, and he has his brain, he has seizures.
Right.
And it's because of concussion grenades and breaching doors. He's breached so many doors. He's done like 3 or 4 tours, I think, and he's breached so many doors that his brain just got trained and desensitized and all the training and stuff that they did. And he's really going. He's gone through a lot of problems. I think he's on the uphill side of it now.
Right.
But man, it's a scary thing, he's a totally fine, normal person, but to the point where when I first met him, he was walking with a cane, and it wasn't because of a physical disability. It was some sort of missing connection in the brain. Right. But just a great guy, and he's the type of guy that will power through that, you know what I mean, and work as hard as he can to get out of that. But and that's a hard thing to drive out of, man. Like that, I would imagine that the average person isn't going to have that stamina or drive or want to be that much better,
Right, and that
you kind of need a nudge.
Well, you need a nudge, but you brought up the badass term, and we talk about that too. So you're a Special Forces, you're Ranger, you're Green Beret, and you've been you are a true badass. Nobody's questioning that. But we're not here to judge, meaning I bring this up a lot. If somebody reaches over and go, Bob, I don't really want to do this fishing and hunting stuff because I'm a warrior, but I really want to learn how to play the violin. Great. Let's go get a we'll go find a violin coach. Who cares? If that's what it's going to take, we're just trying to help.
Sure.
And help means a lot of different things. But again, I don't think in general people, badass or not, we all need help sometimes. And emotionally and psychologically is a whole lot different than we deal with there are people we have on our programs that are amputees. They have prosthetics. As far as I know, everybody at this point knows they've heard 22 to 24 a day is the suicide. These suicides are not because of prosthetics. The suicides are because, as I mentioned, the invisible injuries.
Sure.
Psychological and emotional injuries. When you hear, I don't sleep, I'm eating really garbage, it's going to affect you. I don't care who you are and how tough you are, it's going to get to you.
Well, back to Luke, one of the things that he did to get out of that traumatic brain issue that he has is he switched to a completely vegan diet.
Right.
Because of it, and that's helped him tremendously.
And the people that we deal with that have gone to a better diet and found more balance, when I talk about vitamin D and vitamin B and C and magnesium, which keeps you calm, and some of the other things, these are all natural.
Right.
As opposed to an SSRI, if you stop taking them, you will be suicidal.
Have you guys tried CBD or any of those type of things?
Susan, I'll let she'll talk about. She's
okay. We'll get into that in a minute. They're Pure Spectrum is one of our sponsors here, and they're great. Well, I actually had the CEO in here this morning. We did a live stream, and it was awesome. They're a great company, but their products are amazing too. But I don't want to turn this into a commercial, but but we'll talk about it after the podcast.
Absolutely,
and I'll put you in touch with them as well.
As I mentioned, the alternatives and the holistic approach, and more of just a healthy approach. I don't know what else, to lack of a better term. Okay, now I've totally lost trying to think because we've bounced around all.
No, it's all good. We were talking originally. The original question was about your background, but we kind of dove off into what you guys do, and I guess what made you start River Deep Foundation, and was that the transition where you combined with?
Yeah. So let me. Okay, now I'll try and stay on track for at least a minute.
You're all good, man. I do it all the time.
So.
Yeah.
Squirrel.
Yes. So, I mentioned I did leave off at the phone call.
Yes.
Okay. So we did the first outing with the 2 golf carts and a pointing dog and some pheasants. We actually had a roll of duct tape. That was our adaptive equipment.
Nice.
We duct taped a shotgun to somebody's arm, a paraplegic's arm.
It's not funny, but I think it's great, man. It worked.
Because our attitude, you have to, whatever you got to do, we got to come up with it. Let's make it happen.
Hey, listen, I'm an old rock and roll roadie, and we fix everything with gaffer's tape. It's one step above duct tape. But, well, but yeah, it's good shit.
All the therapists work at T-Rec, occupational and physical therapists, they all have duct tape and a screwdriver or a multi-tool. Yeah. That's it. To this day. So anyway, we did that. It was successful. We took 4 or 5 patients on a pheasant hunt, and so we kept doing that. Then that's in the fall and winter. Spring came. We go, how about fishing? And everybody went, okay. And I had no plan. So I ran down to the owners. I happen to know the owners of Crystal Lake Resort. Said, look, this is what we do, or we're starting to do this. Can we do something with you? Would you help us? They're like, yeah, okay. So we started taking the patients to Crystal Lake Resort, which is by Deckers.
Yep.
Okay. Well, yeah. So we fished, and then at that point we started working. I'm going to move ahead, but we started working with veterans, and at that time it would have been a lot of mainly Iraq. This is 20 years ago, so that would have been mainly Iraq,
Desert
right?
Storm.
Desert Storm, and. We started doing outings. And at that time, I think my first year we did 6 to 8, I'm just guessing 20 years ago, outings for the year, which isn't bad to start with. And then it went to 10 and then 12. And at that time, we were just doing fishing and I think fishing and pheasant hunting for the most part. And then it kept growing. And now, and I'm going to jump ahead, because I think what's more important is what we've learned. What we try and do is listen and learn and make corrections, because our mission is to help. So in order for us to help, we have to keep an open mind. I say to a lot of people, a lot of the times, I give a lot of talks to different groups, and we network with a lot of other nonprofits. Believe it or not, 20 years is nothing, right, in time. In the nonprofit world, most of the veteran nonprofits are post 9/11, and they have rules like, are you a post 9/11 vet or pre, and on and on and on.
Really?
We don't have any rules.
Are you a Purple Heart veteran?
Right.
There's groups that only work with Purple Hearts. There's groups that only work with amputees. It's like,
really?
why? Yeah, it's
So the good thing is, since we're not a government and we're not a government organization and we're not a bureaucracy, nor do we have that thought process, we're governed by our hearts and minds.
So anybody's welcome.
Yes. Every
Okay.
branch, it's not like, yes, like Chuck just said, or, well, unless your great-grandfather was a fighter pilot in World War I don't think we can accept you. And exaggeration, but I've
Yeah.
walked into many. A lot of people don't realize the majority of the injuries at Fort Carson from the soldiers are non-combat. They're training injuries,
Yeah.
but they're still an injury. I was talking to a true badass last night. We all friends with, he was a captain. His first name is Justin. He's done 8 or 9 deployments. He's got 2 Purple Hearts.
2 or 3 Purple Hearts.
Wow.
And
Been blown up.
he's been blown up. He's been shot. And it's funny. He talked about, I always use an example of, okay, Bobby, you lost your leg skiing in Aspen, and such lost their leg from an IED in Afghanistan. Guess what? You're both missing a leg. And even this is coming, now these are his words, even coming from a true badass. He goes, what's the difference? You're both still missing a leg.
Right.
And I don't think
A
God.
leg's a leg, man.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or the afterworld is going to say it's more noble. I was a warrior. I lost my leg in combat. Well, I'm a rich kid who lost my leg in Aspen. You're still missing a leg. I don't know if God's got a scorecard.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know. He says, well, Bobby, you lost your leg in Afghanistan, and Billy, you lost your leg in Aspen. You're not going to have the same privileges Bobby got. And this is coming from his words, not
and
mine.
I have a handicapped person in my family that same sort of thing. It was self-inflicted,
Right.
you know, and he is just the most incredible human being and just a salt of the earth guy. And really his injury has made him a better person. If you could understand
Sure.
that. Yeah. It's made him sober up. He's just a really great person now because of it. And now he's actually helping other people with same sort of injuries.
Right.
you
And
know,
a lot of
stuff
people
like
get,
that.
and that's always good to see.
Yeah.
And when you've been, whatever the particular type of injury, it does make it easier to relate sometimes when you're giving back.
What I was kind of going with right there, I'm sorry, is those people should be held at, if you're quadriplegic and somebody else is quadriplegic, it shouldn't matter how it happened.
Right.
You guys should both have the same opportunity.
We
to go
don't
out.
ask.
Yeah.
We don't know, and we don't ask. If you want to bring it up and it makes you feel good to talk about it, we're going to listen.
Sure.
But we're not going to say, hey, so Bobby, how'd you get that leg ripped off?
Right.
So we're just there to listen and help. And 2 words I use a lot is peace and balance, which a lot of people don't have anyway, regardless of their situation in their life. We're just trying to give you a vehicle for peace and balance. Okay, now before you interrupt me again, and I forget, because I'm going to go back.
I'm horrible at that.
I know, well, no, and then I forget what we were talking about. So I'm going to get back to where we were. Now we're working with, I mentioned, I'm going back years.
Sure.
Okay, now we're working with veterans, and then we started working with Fort Carson. So active duty soldiers and veterans. So yes, the good thing is we don't have all the rules and regulations. We're just trying to help. Now, what we've learned over the years, and it's hard to believe I could actually sum something up, but I'm going to. So the biggest things we've learned is family and instruction. So where I'm going with that is, and I'm not picking on any particular organization, but a lot of the nonprofits that work with veterans don't allow spouses.
That's one thing I noticed about you guys, and I thought was what a better support
Right.
system than your own family. These are people that live with you every day, you know?
And if you've been on deployments and you haven't seen your family in a while, and then you come home and you're running away already, how's that going to help? Because next to the suicide rate, divorce is right up there. So, again, this is something we learned over years, that the family aspect to this is very important. Not just to show up, but to have them participate. Take fly fishing lessons, take archery lessons, even if you're 5 years old. We do a weekend every year at 11 Mile Reservoir, and it's 70 to 100 veterans and family. I have 30 campsites, approximately 30 to 35, and the first day we're fortunate enough to have some really good people that work with us. They have bass boats, and they're pro fishermen and just good people. So anyway, they bring boats, and we get pontoon boats. So if you want to just go for a ride, go for a ride.
Yeah, I think I saw in one of the photos there was a guy in a wheelchair inside of like a bass fishing boat or some sort of fishing boat.
No, that was a drift boat on the Colorado River.
Oh, awesome, a floater.
So
yeah,
and Chuck was there. That was last year. It was in Kremling, and this was another first time ever. And I love the first time evers because not that we can pat ourselves on the back. It's meaning we can do better. There's always more you can do. So it has nothing to do with stroking our ego. It's basically, if every other nonprofit sees that picture and they do it, great.
Yep.
So anyway, I'll finish that before you interrupt again. So we went to Kremlin.
Go back to 11 Mile with the balloons.
Okay. I'll go back to 11 Mile, and then I'll finish with the drift boat. Okay. So we have 70 to 100 vets, 30 to 40 campgrounds. The first day is fishing and boating. The second day, the Pikes Peak Ballooning Society donates average, it changes every year, roughly 15 balloons and pilots to take everybody up on a ride. So the first year, we had a little bit of a disagreement. And they basically kept saying, well, okay, Bob, how many veterans do you think you're going to have? And, I'm like, okay, 30. And I would ignore all this because I'm thinking everybody except, and
everybody by family, like your son, your daughter, everybody that is there for the event gets to go up in a balloon.
And they were like, well, we don't think that's possible. I can't remember the exact words. I'm like, yeah, okay. So we're going to have and I'm ignoring it, which is what I usually do. And I said, yeah, so we're going to get everybody up. It'll be 70 to 100 people. Okay, so again, back and forth like two little kids. Like, no. I'm like, finally, basically what I'm getting at, I'll cut to the chase, is it was a deal breaker. You take everybody or we're going to figure something else out.
Sure.
And they backed off. So we take the family up, and when you see the family going up and you see the smiles in their faces, and last year we had the lieutenant colonel and the command sergeant major from Fort Carson. They don't go to outings, and they come to our outings. And they were interviewed at the end, and they loved what it does for their soldiers. And Operation TBI, they're called their case managers, and they're all combat vets, and they have a caseload of 40 to 60 vets at any given time with TBI. So the family, okay, I forgot why we talked about that. The family aspect is critical, and I think a lot of nonprofits, and I've preached this for a while now, need to include the family. Unless it's a safety reason issue, there's no reason. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to jump back to the combining individual Craig Hospital and veterans and soldiers. It works. And the soldiers and veterans will help the Craig Hospital patients from a chair to do a transfer into a track chair. And at lunch, and we have meals at every outing, we all eat together.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It is. And we all get to talk and tell lies about the fish we caught and how big. And we actually have the badass I talked to you about, who was the Special Forces captain. His wife came up, and Chuck and Susan were there, and she's about this big. And I guess about 4 feet.
Okay.
I'm exaggerating. 4 to 5 feet. She's tough. And we got her with a fly rod. We put a fly rod. We got her on the river. And now to this day, we still talk about her big-ass trout story. Because her badass captain husband caught a minnow, basically. Right. And she caught... right. And Stevie caught a big-ass trout. The trout was as big as her. Nice. So... and the smile on her face, and her son was there, and then they come to all the outings, and he gets it. He's a really good person, and he understands the benefit of the outings we do and the family aspect. He now lives up by Fort Collins, and we do at Colorado Youth Outdoors, we do a family fishing and archery outing, and it's private and it's peaceful and it's safe with about 5 ponds. It has a 3D archery range. Some of the RMS gear people have come up to help instruct.
Nice.
And they have a beautiful outdoor pavilion overlooking a pond where we all get together and have lunch and hand out stuff. And it's a fun day, and you can bring your dogs, and it's safe. And again, that's 70 to 100 people also. So we have smaller outings, and we're not a numbers nonprofit. And I know that would probably get us more grant money, but it would compromise our mission. So if I say, okay, Bobby, yeah, we've served 4,500 vets last year. Well, no, you didn't. You had 4,500 vets come in and out of your program. What do you mean? I said, okay, let me ask you something. You just told me a story about taking 10 vets on an elk hunt. And I believe you. They had a great time. I saw they're smiling. I said, now what do you think happens the second they close their door of the truck? What do you mean? I said, they're already spiraling downhill. We go, each human being, I think, has thousands and thousands of emotions and thoughts a day. So we're blowing smoke if you think there's some magic pill or one outing. You have to be extremely arrogant. I mean, we believe in what we do, and we're diversified, and I'll talk about that.
So I'm going to interrupt again.
Okay.
So when you get somebody in the program, do you guys set some sort of schedule with them? Like, hey, we're going to do this on this day, and next month you're going to do this outing, and so they have something to look forward to.
So, yeah, I'll explain that. So I call you up. You're Craig Hospital, and Susan is, we're going to call it OTF, Operation TBI, and Chuck is Fort Carson. I call all three of you up, and I say, we have a fishing outing coming. You have 6 slots, you have 6 slots, you have 6 slots. So, and we put together an invitation that's everything is explained. And there's no cost or charge to anybody. We provide everything. Okay, so you bring the 6 people out, and everybody brings their 6 people out. Now, there's an archery outing coming up, or a painting. We do art classes. I leave it up to everyone's good judgment to come out. Now, what I mean by that is, okay, Bobby, you brought 6 people, and now you choose the 6 people for the art class and the next fishing. Now, if you feel that Fred needs to get out on every outing, then that's okay. So I may, and where I'm going with that, this is a very difficult situation. And I'll say, Bobby, Fred's been on every outing. What's going on? Because I just want to make sure you're taking care of all your people. He goes, Bob, he needs help. He's in a bad place. And that's it. I'll shut up. Done. You don't have to sell, done. Because the people we deal with, we trust. Fort Carson, the lieutenant colonel, 2 years ago, approximately. Again, I'm sitting with the staff, and this is, I mentioned earlier about all the alternatives and a holistic approach. And he said, well, Bob, how are you going to pick my soldiers? And I was lost. I mean, and I usually, at least even if I'm lost, I'll still talk. I was just froze. I had no idea. I was clueless. I'm thinking, I'm not in the Army. I'm not here every day. How in the world am I going to choose your soldiers? And I said, Colonel, what I mentioned to you earlier. I said, we're only governed by our hearts and minds. We don't have fortunately a rule book the size of a Bible. I said, I need you and your staff to pick the soldiers that need help. And he got it immediately.
Right.
So whether it's Craig Hospital, Operation TBI, or Fort Carson, if people need help, we've got. If I give you 6 slots and you call me up, and this happens every time, and River Deep is one of the things I don't like to say no to. In life, I'll say no a lot. So I had a call today with one of the case managers of OTF. He goes, Bob, do we have 6 slots next month for Lincoln Hills? I'm like, yeah. He goes, and I know it's coming. I go, you need another slot? He goes, yeah, I really do. I'm like, okay.
Right.
So we have to break rules. And that's the way it is. And these aren't life-endangering rules.
And when you say 6 people or 7 people, whatever it is, those families are invited as well.
Yes. And
That's
then,
great.
Right. So we just keep breaking the rules.
Yeah.
And it's probably not the greatest on my. So like when I talk to Craig Hospital, I'll say you have 15 slots for Lincoln Hills or 20. They're like, well, does that include family? I'm like, yeah. So I know what that means. I'm like, yeah, okay, do what you want to do.
Right.
You don't even need to. It's just I'm gonna have to lie. It doesn't matter. So
The point is helping people.
yes, and now I'm gonna get back to where from the 5th interruption about the numbers game with a nonprofit, and I mentioned you about Well, we did talk about this, about you have 4,500 vets come through your program, and I said, what happens to after that outing? So here's where the family comes in, and here's where the instruction comes in. We understand not everybody fishes and hunts. We understand not everybody can paint, work a camera. They want to get on a horse. But we're pretty diversified now. Over the last 10 years, we've really added on programs. The idea is you to come out to an outing and go, you know what? This is pretty good. Can I do this again? Yes. So what's more important than numbers, which would get us more grant money, is the ratio of guide or instructor or teacher to participant. So when I hear we have a 1-to-20 ratio, and I'm somebody that spent my entire life outdoors and also in sports, and some people hate lessons. I love it because I'm competitive and I want 1-on-1.
Yep.
Or 1-on-2, and I'm gonna either you make me a great whatever, or I'm gonna be upset. And I'm gonna keep coming until that.
But I want to hear Chuck's story too, and how he got involved with River Deep. And
I was medically retired in 2007 from the Army. I had 16 and a half years in the Army at that time, and I was going to a PTSD group in Boulder. A friend of mine in the group had been to an outing with Bob, fishing event, and he told me about it, so I checked it out. And from there, kind of attended a couple other events. But after I got out of the Army, I locked myself in my basement for 6 years. I was depressed. I was heavily medicated, and I was not in a good place. So I had gone to a couple of the fishing events, and then in 2013 that's how I got out of my basement in 2013.
so how did you two get in contact?
Well, it was coming to an event, a fishing event that I met Bob, and like I said, I'd come to a couple other events, but I would go to the event and I'd go right back into my basement, and the next event would come up and I might go, I might not go. Well, in 2013, I heard him talking about a Alaska fishing trip. So
There you go.
yeah, and it was that trip right there opened up my eyes and realized that life was worth living, and I needed to get out of my basement. I got rid of my computer, and I just didn't do that anymore. So I'd attended a couple other events after coming back from that, but that's what woke me up. Fast forward a couple of years, and I was falling back down into that hole again. And I was telling my wife, I was like, I need a purpose. I don't want to be here anymore if I don't have a purpose. The Army was the Army was my life. I've been around the Army my whole life. I remember getting my first little green Army man set, and from that point on, I was like, I'm going to be a soldier. That's all I ever wanted to do. So, like I said, fast forward a couple years, and I started getting invited to board meetings. I'm like, why am I coming to a board meeting? Like, I give some input, and then Bob hits me with, he needs an intern. And I was like, I need a purpose. I was like, I don't want to get paid. I just want to do this. I just want to volunteer. And so that just rolled from there, and now I volunteer full-time, and I don't want to see another vet lock themselves away in a basement for 6 years. It's a death sentence. It almost killed me. And Bob and his program saved my life. They truly did. And since I'm being honest about that, I have to admit that my wife also, because she's been with me for 16 years. We've been married for 16 years. She's seen me at my darkest, and she's seen me at my best. And so I have to give her credit for saving my life as well. But these programs, I mean, when we get vets that come up there and they're like, oh, woe is me, I hate everything, I don't like this, the world is messed up, and this sucks, and then they see a quad or a paraplegic using a sip and puff straw, shooting a clay target out of the sky with a straw, and they're like, you know what, maybe I'm not so messed up.
Maybe it's not so bad.
Yeah, you know, I'm doing pretty good. And the vets are usually the first ones to volunteer to help. So if we need something done, they're there. And it shows the vets that there's still a brotherhood outside of the Army. There's still a purpose. It may not be the purpose that you originally set out for yourself, but you still have a purpose. You know, I mean, it's like we lose roughly 22 vets a day, and that's got to stop. That's got to stop, and that's why I'm here. I wanna do my part to help that stop.
That's great, man. I applaud you for doing that. That's amazing that you were able to pull yourself out of that, not only once, but sounds like twice or maybe multiple times.
Oh yeah, it's a deep hole, man. It's hard to get out of it. If you don't have somebody there pushing you and helping you dig your way out, it's rough. I mean, I've been there. And Alaska.
No.
What?
The opportunity to go to Alaska.
Well, that got me out of my basement.
I made you go to therapy.
Oh.
It's always the way, right?
Yeah. So my better half, she made me go to
For
therapy.
the listeners there, his wife just said, I made you go to therapy.
She did.
Yeah.
She did, and I'm glad she did, because that's where I met my buddy Greg, the Marine, and that's how I first started attending events. So, I mean, I love the outdoors. I grew up in the outdoors. I mean, I ran around the woods all the time playing Army. That's as a kid, you know, BB gun wars and paintball wars and all that stuff. It's like, that's what I want to do. So I joined the Army and went on a tank. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how was that Alaska fishing trip? Was it everything you hoped it was going to be?
Amazing.
I still haven't done that. I want to do that so bad.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
it was so
It's
amazing.
on my bucket list.
Like I could. It was in Sadaltna,
Yes, near Homer.
Homer. Yeah, we also went out to Homer and went out and did some halibut fishing. I don't do well in the sea or the ocean. I get seasick
Yeah.
quite a bit. So yeah, I was chumming on the side of the boat. So yeah, that didn't work out too well. But I mean, it was cool. It was that right there opened my eyes up and was like, okay, yeah, life truly is worth living.
Yeah.
Just to being out in nature.
Yeah, I'm all about the fish up there too. I love the taste of northern pike and halibut and salmon. Those are like my top 3 favorite fish to eat too. So.
Well, I mean, my whole life, the only thing I'd ever caught was catfish and bass.
Uh-huh.
I moved to Colorado, and the first fish I caught was a dead, half-eaten trout. That was like, I was like, and the guy next to me on the bank was dying. He was laughing. He's like, I've never seen somebody catch a dead fish. I was like, well, just so you know, this is the first fish I ever caught in Colorado.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it's being able, like I said, going out with these vets and seeing them smile, just being in the water when we do our fly fishing events. You'll get the guys come up there, and some of them are a little standoffish or whatever, and we get to talk and we teach them. We sit them down with a guide, and there'll be like 2 to 3 people. They'll learn basic ties. They'll learn what to look for as far as looking for the different flies and what kind of food is available in the river, and then they take them out and practice casting. From there, we set them up in a suit and put them in the water. And we've had vets that'll go out and catch a few fish and then just want to stand in the water, and it's therapeutic.
That is therapeutic, just standing in a stream, especially on a hot day or thing like that. It's great.
Oh yeah, all we need is an air tube and float down. You know, it's like,
Right.
but
Yeah,
it's,
and floating's so much fun too. I mean that.
when we did last year, we did that Kremling trip, and we took those paraplegics out on the float boats,
The drift boats.
They were like, I'd never thought I'd be able to do something like this again.
So
Right.
that's the
It's-
picture. Sorry, you saw with the wheelchair on the bow of the boat.
Right.
Yeah, we put smiles on people's faces that they'll remember for the rest of their lives, and we've had vets like I did, went to an event, went to another event, and then you didn't see them for a little while, and then they came back, and they're like, okay, yeah, I'm ready. Let's do this. And I'm in contact with quite a few vets that have been on our events, some more than others, but I mean, they're all like, how can I help? What can I do? Do you have room? Like, what else can we do for this?
Yeah.
So there you go.
There it is. Yeah. That's amazing. Because I feel like so many people just put a limitation on that, like, here's what you can do, here's what you can't do. And that's one thing that really made me appreciate your organization. And, like I said, we were talking about Tom Klum and archery, and he had mentioned that, is it Colorado School of Mines helps you make some adaptive equipment to, like, shoot bows or fish or pull a trigger on a gun.
Yeah, no matter what your injury, whether it's in your head or if it's a physical injury, we will find a way for you to do that event. We've got a double amputee on the right side, and we've come up with some adaptive equipment for him to be able to shoot a bow. We've had people that, like the picture we had before of the young lady that uses a bite tab. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, we will find a way, and we will come up with a way for you to be able to do the event, whether it's fishing or hunting or whatever else. So.
And then, like, in a situation like yours where you're a fully capable person, it gives you some purpose to help these people
100%.
that are less capable. Right?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. What a great program. I never really thought about it that way and how that molds together, but it sounds like all sides are getting something off of it.
Oh, 100%. I get something out of every event. I mean, even I don't do the fishing, but I'm there to help the folks that need help fishing.
Yeah.
Whether in a wheelchair, whether they're a vet, what doesn't matter. If you need help, I'm going to be able to help you. I know enough to be dangerous about a lot of things, but I mean,
story of my life.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So, but it's like, I'm there to help in any way, shape, or form that I can. So it's this program it's given me my life back, and I know it's helped so many other people.
So can I ask the question too, and whoever can answer this, you guys work with a bunch of other, is it nonprofits like the task force one that does photography? And
so I'll explain. Okay, so there's Riverty Foundation, which is a standalone 501c3. And then there's Victory Service Dogs, Craig Hospital, Operation TBI, SciHop, which is Safari Club International Humanitarian Outreach Program, Anglers of Honor, and Quality of Life Plus. They're all standalone 501c3s. Here's another, I feel like I'm preaching more than describing, but
no, it's all good.
It's an important message that I try and get out there with nonprofits. Nonprofits, unfortunately, sometimes can be more vicious than for-profits in the sense of nothing to do with what group they're trying to help, meaning they don't want to share. And where I'm going with this is, so you have Bobby Marshall's 501c3 violin class. Okay, and I have...
You're going to get some shitty lessons. Sorry.
So, it's all right.
It's the comic in me.
That's all right. And I've got, river deep fishing. So it would be natural. It's like, hey, Bobby, why don't we work together? Because I bet some of your guys want to fish, and I bet some of our guys, and when I say guys to everyone, that's men and women. I just use that term guys. We have men and women in our programs. So, which is good. And over the years, we're seeing more women on the veteran side. But regardless, why don't we work together? I thought it's basically this. I'm going to put you on the spot now. Hey, Bobby, I thought you were trying to help people. Were you blowing smoke or not? What do you mean? I said, I just offered you our program to offer to your people and vice versa. What are you afraid of?
Right.
So it puts them on the spot because...
Puts them in check a little bit.
Yes,
yeah.
Because unfortunately what I see, and the president at that time, the president of Craig Hospital agreed 100%. If we could take our egos and politics out of the 501c3 world and focus on something actually good and pure, if there is such a thing.
God, if we could do that across the country
Right.
on every issue, shit.
Right. And because and we can help more people. So my whole thing is now, if your answer to me on, we're going to go back to the violin and fishing, and you go, well, Bob, yeah, I don't know. Why not? I want an answer. Why not? What do you have? You know our program. You've checked us out. It's successful, right? You like why don't you want to work with us? So I've said this for years, as we've evolved from, again, fishing and archery to now art classes and equine therapy and wild game cooking and fencing. Yeah. And so here's the groups. So we formed roughly 3 years ago, River Deep Alliance. River Deep Alliance is not a standalone nonprofit, because as I read the other 6 nonprofits, they're all standalone. Now, every group I mentioned, Victory Service Dog, Craig Hospital, Operation TBI, PSYOP Anglers of Honor, and Quality of Life Plus, we're all working together. But you know what? None of us have all the answers. All of us can get better. All of us can improve. So
Plus, you're offering so much more to
exactly.
people.
Well, that's the
It's
point.
yeah.
Is what is your mission? Are you trying to help, or are you trying to get into heaven? Because I'll ask the volunteers that. When we have volunteers, I'm real particular on everybody who gets involved with our program. I want to know why you're here. And if you don't have a good answer, you may be a good person, and I wish you the best. Believe me, we're going to shake hands and we can be friends, but you are not going to volunteer. If you think that this is going to get you close to the Dalai Lama or Mother Teresa or get you into heaven, good luck. I hope you get there, but this isn't the vehicle. Sure. You need to be there to help, and all the other stuff gets put aside. So we formed the alliance because we were working with these people, and what's the one thing none of us need in this life is a yes man. Oh, you're doing a great job. You're doing it. And you walk away and go, geez, they're not doing a good job. Well, then you need to tell me. It's like in life, if I say, I don't want somebody to say, all right, Bobby, you screwed up this drink, and leave it at that. Bobby, you screwed up this drink, and this is what I suggest and how you're going to make it better. So by involving 6 other standalone nonprofits that are substantial, I mean, Craig Hospital, for them to join this is a big deal.
Right.
It basically means we get together on a quarterly basis and say, what are we all doing right? What can we do better? What are we lacking? Where's our strong points? Where's our weak points? So it's just a conversation like a board meeting, but now we're dealing with all the nonprofits. And I'm going to, before I forget, because it is important, you brought it up, the School of Mines, one of the top 10 engineering schools in the country. I was giving I don't know whether you call it a seminar, a speech to Joint Community Forces. They're in Castle Rock. They're health professionals that work with veterans. Big crowd, very intelligent people, and they're a resource for veterans. So I went up there and kind of like what I talked about today, and I talked a little bit about adaptive equipment and how we work with paras and quads and wounded vets and so forth. And I sit down, and the guy behind me, I get a tap on the shoulder. And one guy next to me, behind me, is Randy Gradishaw from the Broncos. Yep. And the guy next to me was Cord Allen from Quality of Life Plus. And I turn around my head because I'm in a row seating, and I see a business card. I'm like, Quality of Life Plus. I have no idea what that means, but I'd like to have a better Quality of Life Plus. Whatever it is, it sounds good to me. He said, I heard what, obviously I'm the only one speaking. He goes, we do that. He goes, we make adaptive equipment. I go, you're hired. Like that. And as soon as this meeting's up, we can't talk because obviously we're at a seminar. And I said, as soon as it's over, we're going to talk. I said, this is what we do. And he told me they work with the top engineering schools like Cal Poly and MIT in the country. I go, great. We need something for fishing. We need something for archery. We need something for shooting. When do we start? And he goes, well, I go, great. Meet me at RMS Gear because let's start there. And he did. He goes, I'll bring a camera and I'll show you. And he started to make the adaptive equipment. That's what Tom Klum is talking about. And Chuck had brought it up, whether depending on your spinal cord injury or amputee. So we have adaptive equipment for archery now for both. So Quality of Life is actually working with a sip and puff for quads for fishing. It's hard to describe on the
can you explain what a step and puff?
Sip and puff.
Sip and puff. Okay, sorry.
If anybody has seen someone in a chair, whatever type of chair, and sees a clear plastic straw about a half inch, bigger than a little quarter-inch straw, about a half inch in diameter, you blow into that. So if you cannot use your arms to operate the chair, you blow into the straw, and that's how the straw, you can actually maneuver the chair. So the sip and puff straw, we've used it, and Chuck brought it up on sporting clays. If anybody doesn't know what sporting clay is, it's like, think of it as trap shooting and skeet shooting. So if you have a rifle or something static in a handgun, there are many rifle rests out there and handgun rests that can be adapted for people with injuries. The difference with trap shooting, skeet shooting, sporting clays, and upland bird hunting is, you have to follow through, and the target is going up and down anywhere from 20 to 40 miles an hour. They don't make anything like that. And, well, the few things they do make don't work that well. So School of Mines, and I think you've seen it, you'll see School of Mines students and the device at Valhalla Hunt Club in Bennett, and we actually used it with quadriplegics, and they've hit targets. I
have a hard time hitting clays.
Exactly.
And I'm fully capable.
Right.
They intercept the target.
Right.
Yeah. So, they're sitting there, the rifle shotgun sitting on the mount. We fire a couple clays, they'll figure out, okay, this is where we'll upper and lower it, and then they'll launch it, and then whoever's in the chair will sit there and suck on the straw or blow on the straw and intercept the clay target as it passes in front of them.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's
that's impressive.
Very
impressive.
hard to right. Even regardless, no injury, intercepting on a clay target is not easy.
Right.
So they're working, but we also, so that's the sip and puff, but we would have had this finished this year, but COVID came in and obviously
it shut you down, guys.
It shut us down. So next year we'll get it. But
a lot of these people cannot get sick, right? I mean, yeah.
Yes, we have to be very cautious about COVID, because if they have respiratory or depending on their illness, I'm going to finish this and then talk about, because we have actually started our programs in the beginning of June.
Oh, nice.
So when this fall semester starts at School of Mines, we hopefully will have a finished device, we'll call it a prototype, for a shotgun that follows through. There's two kinds, one the sip and puff, and one if you're a para. So you'll be able to put this shotgun on a rest and actually upland pheasant hunt with it, or clay shoot. So it's pretty exciting. We've been working with School of Mines for 2 or 3 years through Quality of Life Plus, and every year we get to present proposals on items needed. So they're going to be working on a way to swing a golf club
cool.
for a para. We're working on you're an excavating guy, outriggers, pods for like a backhoe to stabilize, for people that they will be adapted to a UTV, which is a side-by-side for people who don't know the term. Think of an ATV, but it's a two-seater.
It's a mini off-road car.
Yes,
basically.
That's open with a roll cage, and this will adapt onto the roll cage of the UTV to stabilize it. So if you shake, it'll help stabilize it. Anyway, we're also going to be working with either hopefully CU or I'm not sure which other university, on software program to help people with TBI. With TBI, you have memory issues. So this is a program to help better your memory.
Train your brain.
Yeah, to train your brain. So most of our stuff is on the physical side, but it's pretty cool that we get to work with universities, or will be in the future, on the technological side of software for the PTSD and TBI issues. So the relationship with School of Mines is great, and the students come out and we get to test, because when I first started and I went in and got to talk to the class and I showed them all these great slideshows and all what we do, and basically I said, you need to come out because we're going to get you in this chair and you're going to try it. Because me explaining it or someone else isn't
the best way to work something out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you could see it in their face when they go, oh, now I get what you've been trying to tell me. We do have to improve this. Yeah. And we don't take anything till it's 100%. Like last year, one of the professors was going to give us this shooting and fishing. I'm like, why? It's not ready. And we're going to present it to somebody who's already struggling. So now I'm going to give you a device, and you're going to go,
it only works 80% of the time or whatever, right?
So when it's 100%, and then our idea is to mass produce these as opposed to one-off and get them to all the people that need them.
That's so great. I love the fact that you guys don't put a limitation on it. You know, and I've said that already, but I just think it's great. I think that's one thing that sets you guys apart from any other organization that I've seen out there.
We've had organizations come up like, hey, you know, because we have a pipeline. We have a direct pipeline of active duty soldiers coming from Fort Carson. We have all the vets that are out in this area. We've had nonprofits approach us like, hey, you know, we'd like to take some of your vets out and do some of this, but they have to be missing a limb. Like, that's not going to happen. So we just won't support them. Like, what? You're going to put a stipulation on, like, they have to be missing a limb for you to do something? Sure. No, we're not. That's not what we do. That's not why we're here. We're here to help. We're here to help everybody. But we're not going to, I guess, whore our people, you know, our vets out for you to look good for a day.
Right.
Yeah,
I think that's a stand-up thing to do, too, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't know about, probably. You know, I never knew about it until I sat down with you guys today. And can you tell me what events you guys have coming up, and how, if somebody did want to volunteer or help, how can they do that?
Well, the best way, we did start, as I mentioned, in the beginning of June. We did an art class, and we do our equine healing programs at the Air Force Academy, which they have 1,000 acres and roughly 100 horses, so it's beautiful. They have people don't realize that if you're
a civilian, you really can't go on there unless you're going on with your organization.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's awesome.
And when you're in the 1,000-acre part where the woods are and there's deer, bear, mountain lion, bobcat, turkey. If I was to blindfold you and take you in there, you would think you were in the Bob Marshall Wilderness area in Montana.
Yeah.
You don't even see the Air Force Academy. The Academy is they own a lot of land. So anyway, we do that every month from May till October. We did, like most places, in March and April, and a lot of May stop. So the beginning of June, we did an art class. We did an equine class at Air Force Academy. We did a fly fishing class at Lincoln Hills. So in August, we have a fly fishing outing. We have a wild game cooking class. We have an art class in Colorado Springs. And we have our golf fundraiser, which I will send you that flyer, August 31st at Meridian Golf Club, which is a private club. It's beautiful in Centennial. We've been there for the last 3 years. And if you go to our website, riverdeepfoundation.org, you can register online. So my suggestion is to anybody, whether they want to volunteer or donate, they can do both. All my contact information is on the website. There's a click this to donate.
Especially if you're like a fly fishing guide,
or a guide or an outfitter.
An outfitter or anybody like that. Or maybe you just have a raft that somebody could use or something like that, right?
Yes, a raft or a boat, or maybe you have some property. Maybe you have a second or third home and it's a ranch with 200,000 acres, a full staff, full ATVs, 20 horses,
All right.
drift boats, and you just want to say, you know what, you guys, I like what you do. You can use it. River Deep can use it whenever you want.
Sure.
So call in.
Kevin
You can
Costner, if you're
Yeah,
listening.
Exactly. Right. Right. Exactly. Those calls I'll take any time of day. Okay. So, but yeah, there's information on how to sign up to volunteer. There's information online if you're a veteran or an individual with disability and want to get involved with the programs. There's my email. There's even, there's phone numbers, everything and it's important. I always encourage people before you say that, go check us out. Go look at every outing we do has pictures and an article and make sure, does it sound good? Great. So I would encourage that. And again, it sounds like we're going to wrap up. So I'm going to.
Yeah, it's crazy. We went on an hour and a half in no time, it feels like no time, but.
I need another 2 hours.
Okay.
So no, I'm kidding.
Well, hey, listen, we'll just do another episode at some point,
That's
right?
fine.
I want to have you guys back, or we'll have somebody else. Maybe we'll have you sit down with us next time, Susan, and maybe maybe the next time we do it, we'll do a one-on-one, because I feel like I could have a 2-hour conversation with Chuck. I could have one with you. I mean, I feel like we didn't get it all out, but we will do this again, and I want to support you guys too.
No,
So-
I appreciate it. But an important message to anybody who listens to this who may know a veteran that's struggling or an individual with disability, they can contact us, go to the website. The other thing is, I know there's a lot of apprehension, anxiety, getting people out the first time. All veteran nonprofits struggle with that, meaning, I'm going to sign up. That's on August such and such. And that day comes along and you're like, I don't know. And maybe it's not a good idea.
You get anxious before it even happens. Yeah.
So my suggestion is just come out. If you want to sit in your car, get a little bit comfortable and take baby steps until you get out of the car, that's okay. There's no pressure. Just, maybe now you're in your car, you roll down the window. It's like, maybe it isn't bad. Maybe you walk a few steps, whatever it takes. And then maybe you just come up to us and go, okay, could I just watch everybody in the river today? Yeah, okay. So whatever it takes, there's total freedom. Meaning if you get there and you need to leave or go walk in the woods or smoke a cigarette or whatever, go do it.
Sure.
So that's that's an important message. The other thing I'm going to finish up with is
don't rush.
Oh.
You're fine.
Okay, the family aspect, which we do, which is crucial, and the instruction. And I know I've touched on this probably 20 times, but I never finish. It's not important. We're not here to judge and say you have to do art, or if you don't like our wild game cooking class, we just can't help you. This is why we offer a multitude of programs, and even if you don't become a professional photographer, a professional fishing guide, professional chef, what's the difference?
Yeah.
It's an outlet. If you enjoy it and it makes you feel good and it gets you out of the house, that's the mission. And that's it. Last year, 2 years ago, we started fencing. And with the Denver Fencing Center. Now they're set up.
So you're talking sword fencing,
Yes.
not like
Not
building.
Well, it depends. For actually guys like you're going to be building a picket fence.
Yeah, I'm going to be sweeping the floor
Right,
at Rocky
but-
Mountain
exactly.
Specialty Gear too.
You're going to be handing us the nail gun. But no, this is saber, foil, and epi. I couldn't think of the other. Anyway, he actually has adaptive equipment for fencing. And he is well recognized in the fencing community. So he takes adults and kids all over the world to compete. And a year ago, he told all of us that the United States really doesn't have a good para team. Thinking, wait a minute, how's that happen? Because we're pretty big on sports in the United States, and we have a lot of stuff. So we just had a conversation a month or two ago. He was able to get a grant to sponsor a para fencing team, which means they can travel all over the world. So it was another situation. I was like, okay, Nathan, give me 5 minutes. I was like, I'll call you back. So I called 3 guys that I know. I'm like, you fence, right? He goes, yeah, good. You're on the para fencing team. Hung up, called another guy. I got same thing like 20 years ago. No details. Just get ready.
Yeah.
Go get a sword and start stabbing a pillow. Practice. Do whatever you got to do. Called up another person that we all know here who's a double amputee. And he goes, yeah, I'm interested. Then I called another person. I said, okay. I called him back in 5 minutes. I go, okay, Nathan, I got 3 people signed up already. I need the invitation. I need the breakdown, and I'm going to get it out to the community. And then he did get it to me a week later. So hopefully we'll launch that.
Wow, that's
so
awesome.
The fencing
So is that the U.S. Special Olympics team that
it would be?
on?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So just going from a hobby to straight up, you're going to go compete for a medal, maybe.
Well, we have a person that Chuck and I work with. He's in his 20s, probably.
Yeah, he's early
And
20s.
he loved it. So,
Oh, the kid's a beast.
yeah. Now, when you're fencing, you've seen the mask you wear. It looks like a cyclone fence or like chicken, really tight. You can't see the person's face. Like, you can't see their expression. And
Really?
It's hard to breathe, and you will lose 20 pounds in a minute. Really? That stuff, that protective gear, is hot. So here's this kid, and he has a TBI and a spinal cord injury. And when he first started coming to our programs, he could hardly stand up. Now he's standing up and he's fencing. But the soldiers from Fort Carson are young guys, 20s and 30s. They take off the mask and they're like, they're dying. And they're ready to go home. And this kid is like, come on, who wants to fence? Who wants to fence? Yeah, who's next? And we're all beat. So last year, when Nathan, again, the owner of Denver Fencing, when he was there, he said, Bob, we really, how do we, can you help me with this, the participants? So I said, come on, let's go talk to him right now. And his mom was there. His mom brings him because he can't drive. And
limited use on his right side.
And he said, you can see the smile. We go, we're going to start a power fencing team. And he's like, yeah. And this big smile. And then it took Nathan to, grants and all that. But when he got it and I called them up, I'm like, you still interested? He goes, yeah. Terry's, he would be excited about that. He was excited. So we're going to get this thing going.
Awesome.
So,
well, let us know when that's happening. We'll be rooting for him, and we'll spread the word too.
Yeah. Maybe we'll all go to Spain together for the first outing.
Yeah. Right? Well, that was one more question I got to ask before we wrap this up. Where do you guys only help people? I know that you help everybody, but you help people outside of the state of Colorado, outside of the Rocky Mountain region as well, right? Like you guys you did an event in Alaska. Where else?
It originated here, but we go to Montana, we go to Wyoming, we go to New Mexico, Texas, Nebraska. So we actually, over the last 5 to 10 years, we're reaching out more now.
Awesome. All right.
And hopefully that will just continue.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you guys very much for coming in. I really appreciate your time, and I think it's great what you guys do. And like I said, I want to have you back, and let us know when you got an event going on too. You have an open line to me anytime you want. So.
Well, thank you. And yeah, we talked about it. Next month, if you want to come to Lincoln Hills, come on up.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
And no, thanks for having us, because it's important that we get our message out.
Yeah.
And it's important that people hear. And
I think it's great what you guys do, and I think everybody should know about it as well. And I think if people have the means, they should help support you guys too, because I think you guys are doing amazing stuff. Real quick before we jump off the air here, you want to drop your website one more time? I know you guys have an Instagram page. Try to get you guys some followers over there, and Facebook and all that sort of stuff.
We have a Facebook, and it's riverdeepfoundation.org.
Okay.
And yeah.
And then the website one more time?
Riverdeepfoundation.org, and the Facebook is Riverdeep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, is it Riverdeep Foundation on Instagram, I think, too? So
yeah, it's just Riverdeep Foundation.
Perfect. Yep. Well, thank you guys again. I really appreciate it, and we'll be staying in touch for sure.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for listening.